I'm Josh Ryan, licensed professional counselor, and this is what happens after you react. Control the mental loop and stop overthinking. If you've been following the daily rep, you've been training on a few things: how to slow down your reactions, how to pause, and how to choose the best response. But there's a part of the process that we haven't yet addressed, and it's one of the most important parts of the entire framework. Because even when the reaction is over, most people are still stuck. This series is focused on Pillar 5, managing the mental loop. And this is where control is either built or lost. So if you've ever walked away from a conversation and kept thinking about it for hours, replaying it, rewriting it, carrying it with you, this show is for you. This is not a continuation of the daily rep. This is the next phase. This is new work. Because the reaction ends, but your mind doesn't. And that's where the loop begins. The conversation is over. The moment has passed. The other person may have even moved on physically or emotionally. But for some reason, you haven't. Now, the loop begins. Most people think the problem is what they said, or how they reacted, or how the situation itself played out. But that's not where people stay stuck. They stay stuck in what happens next. You replay it. You analyze it. You rethink what you said. You imagine what you, quote, should have said. You build a different version of the conversation in your head. That version, you handled it better. You said the right thing. You stayed in control. And here's the problem. That process feels productive, but it's not. What you're experiencing at that point is what I call the mental loop. And the mental loop is not random. It follows a pattern. That pattern looks like this. We replay, we evaluate, we correct, and by doing so, we emotionally reinforce. You play the moment. You evaluate what went wrong. You somehow try to correct it in your own headspace. And then you reinforce the emotion tied to it. Oftentimes that emotion is frustration, embarrassment, maybe anger or shame. And every time you go through that cycle, you strengthen it. Now here's where people get this wrong. They think they simply need to stop thinking about it. That's not the answer. Because your brain isn't looping for no apparent reason. It's trying to solve a problem. It's trying to protect you from making the same mistake again. It's trying to prepare you. It's trying to regain the sense of control that was lost in the prior engagement. But the way it's doing it is inefficient. Because instead of learning from the moment, you stay stuck in it. And this is why, hours later, you still feel activated. You still feel tense. You still feel like the conversation is ongoing, even though it ended a long time ago. Because your body doesn't know the difference between a real situation and a vividly replayed one. So every time you loop it, you re-trigger the same emotional response. That's important, folks. That's why it lingers. That's why it carries forward. That's why it stacks and begins to affect the next interaction. Most people think control happens in the moment, but it doesn't. Control is built after the moment. Because what you do in the loop ultimately determines what you do next time. If you stay in the replay mode, you will continue to reinforce reactivity. If you stay in shame, you will weaken your confidence. If you stay emotionally activated, you carry that into your next conversation. But if you learn how to manage the loop, you can change what happens next. The reaction is not what defines you. The loop that follows is what trains you. And if you don't control the loop, it will ultimately control you. So here's the first step. Don't try to stop the loop. That won't work. Instead, simply start noticing it. When your mind goes back to the moment, label it. Simply label it. This is the loop. Not things like I messed up or I should have said something different. Just simply identify the replay as the loop. Tell yourself, this is the loop. And that's important because the moment you can see it, you separate from it. At that point, you're looking at the loop instead of through the loop. And that's where control begins. If you want to go deeper into this work, not just listening to it, but actually practicing it, you can visit pauseandrespond.com. The book is there. The workbook is there. The new workbook for the 30-day discipline run is there. All of these resources are what are going to help you make some of these changes. Because this isn't about understanding it once. It's about training these new skills over time. This is episode 1 of what happens after you react. Control the mental loop and stop overthinking. If you're serious about gaining control after the moment, not just during it, stay with this series. Because next we break down why the loop feels like control, even when it's actually keeping us stuck. Less reaction, more choices.